All right, Brig.
I'm excited.
So we're gonna jump in here and do our Mount Rushmore for the Seattle Mariners. We started
Yeah.
doing this. We did the Yankees because that's Brig's team, and then we decided to come west and do my team, the Seattle Mariners. So we're gonna do that today. Um, Now, for those of you who aren't familiar, Mount Rushmore has four presidential heads on it. So we are choosing four players who we believe would belong on a Mount Rushmore for the organization. Brig, why don't you go ahead and lead
Four.
us off? Give us your first one.
That's so nice of you.
I'm in a giving
It's
mood.
your favorite team, and it's the softball that you're just going to lob in there.
Yeah.
So my number one choice is Ken Griffey Jr.
Mine too.
Super duh. Are you
Right?
serious? Yes.
Go
We
ahead,
should-
Brig.
Well, I mean, number one overall pick, 1988, drafted out of high school. He changed baseball. He transcended baseball, man, with the hat backward and everything like that. 11 seasons as a Mariner, 398 home runs, 1,063 runs, and 1,152 RBIs. Dude, this dude is off the chain. AL
Especially when he was
MVP
in
in
Seattle.
97. What?
Especially when he was in Seattle.
Yeah, we don't talk about that, whatever happened in Chicago. He wasn't even in the documentary.
That's true. That was like 2 weeks. It's like the last month of the season in Chicago. A lot of people forget about that. Number 17 with the White Sox.
Yeah. Yeah.
Playing right field and DHing.
What do you think about it? Tell us your thoughts on the kid.
Well, so I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Transcended baseball. You know, the iconic backwards hat, the most beautiful swing we have ever seen to date. I mean, I don't know of
Ever.
anybody who has that kind of swing. I mean, Cody Bellinger, you can see, kind of tries to mimic it a little bit. One time I noticed that his stance is very similar to Griffey's. He's changed it up since then. His swing is a little bit in that direction, but I think that might just be because he's a lefty. But I think you can see that there is some inspiration drawn there, which is obvious, you know, with a kid who grew up in an MLB clubhouse. But, I mean, Griffey had influence over an entire generation of fans. The only other guy I can think of who had that kind of influence was Michael Jordan. And, you know, they were contemporaries, you know, playing in the in the 90s,
Yeah.
early 2000s.
For sure.
They were contemporaries, and you know, it was be like Mike, and you know, every kid playing baseball wanted to be like Griffey.
Yeah.
And you know, one thing that I don't know how well known this is about his influence on the game is that Griffey is, I mean, his approaching Bud Selig is the reason that they have Jackie Robinson Day where everybody wears number 42, and also the reason that Jackie Robinson's number is retired across Major League Baseball.
That's right.
Ken Griffey Jr. had that idea,
Yep.
brought it to Bud Selig, and it was executed. So, I mean,
That's right.
more than just on the field, I guess that's mostly on the field, but across the entire game, that he understood the importance of Jackie Robinson in his life and the league, and he felt like it was important enough that everybody should understand that. And I think it's great. I thought, when I heard that, I thought it was amazing. Just somebody who cares way more about way more things than just himself. Because it could have been easy for him to be selfish his entire career.
For sure.
And you can argue that there were
Yeah.
times, but everybody's got to be selfish at some point. You know, when he asked out of Seattle,
Of course.
we saw in the junior documentaries because he was miserable. He wanted to be with his family, and I can't fault a guy for that, especially being a dad. You know,
Yep.
but
Yep.
no, this the impact that he had on my favorite team growing up. That I've spoken to people over the last few years. It's like, I don't know why. Honestly, if you didn't grow up in the Pacific Northwest, why anybody would be a Mariners fan? And the same answer I get every time is I grew up watching Griffey. It's like, there you go. So
There you go.
impact
Well,
on
and he
a
played with his
generation.
dad.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And,
Yeah.
he all of the 10 all-star teams, that's transcendent right there. That's how you become a fan of Griffey if you didn't grow up there. And anyway, Griffey just wins. He just is a winner.
Yep.
And he just wins all of the things that you can win. So
And a Gold Glove every single year he was in Seattle.
exactly. He wins all the things you can win. It's the thing he does.
Yep. Yep, absolutely.
But he saved baseball in Seattle. I mean, we can't.
He did. To this day, now T-Mobile, but Safeco was called the house that Junior built because he led that team on that playoff run. You know, granted they lost to the Indians in '95 in 6 games, but because people were coming to watch Griffey that year, you know, he missed some time with a broken wrist, but when he came back, he was just as electric as ever. You know, he came back and people were coming to watch him play and watch the Mariners play in the playoffs, that it was like, okay, we need a new stadium because the Kingdome is not great. You know that.
One last thing on Griffey. Tell me if I'm wrong, but is he not the first Mariner to be in the Hall of Fame?
He is. Yep.
One of only 2.
One of only 2. Are you going to go to the second one for your next one?
No.
Okay, that's fine.
No, don't talk to me like you know me.
I'm not your coal mine supervisor. I apologize.
Brad, who is your number 2?
Funny you'd ask that right now, Brig. My number 2 is Edgar Martinez.
No.
Yep, he is.
Man, I knew you were going to say that.
he was the second Mariner to be elected into the Baseball Hall of Fame, and it took a long time. It took a long time for him to get in because people were holding his defense against him, and to that I say, but also I say,
boo on you.
You cannot name the designated hitter of the year award after a guy and then not let him into the Hall of Fame. He was the greatest DH to play the game by far. I mean, look at this here.
Yeah, of course.
So, Edgar Martinez, 312 lifetime average, 933 career OPS. I mean,
it's crazy.
Hello. And then in 95, he had a career year in 95. Griffey missed some time, so he was bumped up a little bit in the batting order. Got a few more at-bats. Came out batting, Brig, 356. With an OPS of 1.107. On base percentage, 479. And for a guy who hits for average and does not hit home runs, Brig, 29 home runs.
I know.
Finished third in the MVP voting.
To your point, 52 doubles that 95 season.
And you know what? The thing that's funny about that is that none of those stats include the important role that he had in the 95 ALDS against your New York Yankees.
Oh, my. Yeah,
there it is. Yeah,
because it was supposed to be a double.
It was a double, but also he had a grand slam in that series that brought the Mariners back from the brink in Game 4.
That's right. Yes.
They should have lost that game. Instead, Edgar Martinez hits a grand slam to straightaway center field. Busts out the rye bread and the mustard, Grandma. That's right. So, I mean, aside from those, though, I mean, he was, after Griffey left Seattle, he was the cornerstone of the franchise. Him and Ichiro were the cornerstone of the franchise. And, I mean, I think his leadership was a big reason that team won 116 games in 2001. And whether he was a vocal guy in the clubhouse, I don't know. You know, I was only 15 years old at the time.
Sure.
So I wasn't really paying attention to that stuff. But it felt like it was Edgar's team, and he was leading that team to every single win. You know, Brett Boone was doing the bat flips. Jay Buhner was hitting home runs, but Edgar Martinez was the guy who was pushing that team along. So, I don't know. I mean, that's just the way I saw it. That's the way I saw Edgar really the entire time he was in Seattle. You know, one of the big knocks on him is that he was a defensive liability. He didn't play much defense. He played a little bit at third base, but then he hurt his knee, couldn't play defense anymore. I don't know what the Mariners would have done if they'd ever made it to the World Series, because that would have been trouble. Wouldn't have won any games on the road probably because he didn't have his bat, except for in a pinch hitting situation. And he's also a guy, as my dad always said, he ran like he's mad at the ground, which I thought was really funny and also very true.
Yeah, that's right.
But
Well, he spent
that's
18
enough.
years in Seattle. 18.
Yeah,
That's plenty
he
of
spent his whole
opportunity to
career.
get an opinion.
Yeah, he spent his whole career in Seattle. He was a guy
That's
who,
right,
like,
exactly.
I watched him from the beginning of my watching baseball until he retired in 2004 when I graduated high school. And, like, at that point, I was just like, gosh, I don't know what to do, you know?
Yeah,
But
right.
anyway, what do you have to say about Edgar Briggs? Because I'm assuming you have him on your list.
I do. he just he just wasn't number 2, Brad.
That's fine. That's fine. I'll forgive you.
No,
for that.
I've said, I mean, everything you said I was going to say, and then I added the 18 seasons in Seattle, and yeah, I think it's just crazy to me that this guy is as good as he is and is as underrated as he is, and you say he's the greatest DH to ever play the game, and I think there's a really good argument for that, but other people know David Ortiz better, and I can't figure out why. It's got to have something to do with being in Seattle.
And I think the David Ortiz thing is the postseason.
Right. Well, and
Edgar
exactly.
never got that.
There's a
never
great
got
argument
that
for
chance.
that.
Even though,
Right.
even though he did perform when he did get the chance, but he didn't get the chance on the big, big, big stage like Poppy did.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. I know. But that's what I'm saying. That's like there's your. But you come up with you seriously if you say list 5, top 3, even top 3 best DHs of all time, you have to have Edgar Martinez in there.
You have to. Absolutely.
You have to, no matter what.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd be a fool not to. So he's my number 3, and
Okay.
I refuse to
forgive you
move
for
him. I refuse to move him down to number 2.
That's fine. Hey, let's take a quick break. When we get back, let's talk about your number 2, Brig.
Okay. Welcome back, baseball family. Now, during the break, Brad and I had a little bit of an exchange happening. It's very exciting. I said, rather boldly, that I believe I know who his number 3 and number 4 picks will be. I also told him that I think his number 3 and my number 2, which is yet to be revealed, are the same, but that our number 4s are going to be different. So in an effort to preserve the integrity of our little experiment, I told Brad, I said, look, I'm going to send you a text message with my guesses, because he's like, prove it. And I'm like, no, I can't. He said, well, then you'll cheat. And I said, well, so I texted him. It's got a timestamp on it. He's not looking at his phone. We're very excited to bring you this.
Yes, very excited.
More for us than anything else. So we'll see what happens. But okay, my number 2, since we've gone out of order, my number 2 pick for the Seattle Mariners Mount Rushmore is Ichiro Suzuki.
Okay, that is my number 3.
Yes! Yes! Whoa, yeah. I'm halfway there, baby. Halfway. Okay. Whew. Okay, so now Suzuki. Okay, let's context here. When a player comes from Japan, it's not always a done deal. You could have a terrific career in Japan and be lights out, just be automatic. And then you come to Major League Baseball and the wheels fall off, right? There are very few players that pull it off successfully, but there is only one player that's done it the way Suzuki has. It's just insane. So he was with Seattle from 2001 to 2012, short break. Well, I mean, 6 years is not short. And then 2018, 2019 came back, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, if that's what you want to call it. I mean, he played 15 games in 2018, and then he played 2 games in that Japan series in 2019. So basically, he came back ceremoniously during that time.
Sure. But we got a good 10 years out of him for Seattle.
Yes. Yeah.
He's the all-time leader in hits with 2542 for the Mariners. 438 stolen bases also leads that category, and he has the highest career batting average, 321, across the entire franchise history. Now, the team was inaugurated, 1977?
Yeah.
That was their initial season. So That's not a tremendous amount of history to top, but it is nothing. It's nothing to shake a stick at a 321 career, leading the franchise with at least 10 years. That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Well, and we did see that there was that stat that came across on the 9+S VIP group, and I think it was an MLB graphic. But anyway, it said something like Ichiro doubled up the middle, or singled up the middle in his 21st at bat of his major league career, and never fell below 300 again for his lifetime average.
Right.
And it's pretty good. He got off to a pretty good start because he hit 350 that first season as a rookie. Was the obvious rookie of the year. Happened to win MVP. I mean, happened to win MVP as well that year. And that was 2001. That was that season that I talked about when I felt like Edgar Martinez was leading the team. I mean, Ichiro was just this phenom, came out of nowhere. I specifically remember his very first at bat with the Mariners, and it was like he hit like a little dribbler to third base, I think, and he beat it out.
Right.
And we were just like, I think it was just my mom and I were watching the game. We looked at each other, we're like, who's this guy? What is this? And then it wasn't too long until there's that throw from right field to David Bell that was an absolute strike. Not just a strike, but a laser beam. They're just like, he can throw too? What is this? But yeah, first impressions of Ichiro were very big in my house because we hadn't really heard anything about him besides he's going to be great.
Right. A lot of promises that are often broken promises, empty promises.
Well, yeah. Yeah, it's like you talked about. Guys come over from Japan and sometimes, and like maybe they're good, not great, or they just flat out don't pan out at all.
Yeah.
Maybe seen Shohei Ohtani, who's been very good for the Angels when he plays, but health has been an issue.
Right.
I mean, he's on his second round of Tommy John surgery already.
Yeah.
And who knows how much longer he's going to be able to play. He's probably not going to be able to pitch, which is part of the reason they wanted him. But, I mean, Ichiro was everything anybody ever thought he would be and more, coming to the league at 27. So,
yeah,
it was absolute dynamite. Unreal.
Well, and
experience watching Ichiro, especially that first year.
So then in 2004, when he broke the single-season record for hits with 262, that record stood until he broke it in 04 from 1920.
It's a long time.
It's a long time, man.
And, this is one thing, too, about Ichiro that a lot of people kind of argue against is his slugging percentage.
Mm-hmm.
So he never had a slugging percentage, above 457. He was 457 his rookie season, and he never got above that again and rarely got over 400. A lot of people call him a slap hitter because he was just slapping the ball and getting on base. But you and I have talked about the value of getting a guy on base, and we saw that with the Mariners, especially in that 01 season. There were guys who, could hit home runs. You had Brett Boone batting right behind Ichiro that sean, who was may or may not have been juicing. I don't know. I'm not going to say either way. but batting right behind him. But he sure hit a whole lot of home runs that season, regardless of the situation.
Yep.
And Ichiro was on base for a lot of them. So that turns a solo home run into 2-run home run at least.
Exactly, and that's the whole point. Well, no, let's not forget he took home 10 straight Gold Glove awards from 01 to 2010. That's hot. Yeah,
it is. And, they had the fan area out there in right field. They called it Area 51, which I thought was pretty cool. And, I actually read at one point, I think it was his rookie season, where he said the reason that he chose number 51. Do you know what that was?
No.
He's a big Bernie Williams fan.
Get out.
That's what I read that rookie season. I don't know how much truth there is to it, but that's something that I saw.
That's fantastic. Even if it's not true,
that was
it's fantastic.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thought it was great.
Cool. But, all right, Brad. Let's see if I'm right.
Anyway.
Who's your number 4? Oh man, I'm so excited.
My number 4 is the big unit, Randy Johnson.
Oh, I was wrong.
You said King Felix.
I thought you were going to go with King Felix.
Real quick, let me tell you why I didn't choose King Felix.
Okay.
And it was strictly because he never pitched in a playoff game, which I know was not his fault. He was a Cy Young Award winner. But the fact that he was not able to get there, and like I said, it's a pitcher, not his fault, but I feel like you've got to have that on your resume. And Randy Johnson actually was the reason at one point the Mariners got into the playoffs, because they had to play a one-game playoff in '95 against the, at the time, California Angels.
Mm-hmm.
And he came in and closed that game out. Struck out, I believe it was Tim Salmon to win the game.
I'm shocked.
So, that what? Oh, that is Randy Johnson instead of King Felix?
Yes.
And see, for me, Randy Johnson has just such a special place in my heart. I feel like you can't leave him off because, like I said, the role that he played on that team in those playoff runs. He was a 20-game winner in '97 when the Mariners made the playoffs again. He was an All-Star that season. He was also an All-Star '93, '94, '95. He won the Cy Young Award in '95. And, he didn't strike fear, or King Felix did not strike the fear into batters that Randy Johnson did.
Hey, now that's the 100% true. You can't argue with that.
Because I feel like with King Felix, it was like a nervousness of what's going to come, but you still can't hit it.
Yeah.
But with Randy Johnson, it was like, this guy might have a screw loose, and I don't know where the ball is going to come.
Yeah.
And he probably doesn't know where it's going to come.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's going to be a 103-mile-an-hour fastball or if it's going to be a 90-mile-an-hour slider.
Yep.
So there was a physical fear put into batters that very few other pitchers have had over the course of a lifetime.
He threw his first no-no in 1990, Cy Young Award winner 95, and 4,875 strikeouts. That's a strikeout per nine of 10.61.
Yeah, he also had 1,497 walks, which I feel like is pretty good for a guy with those kind of control issues.
And at, just shy at 7 feet tall.
Yeah. That was one thing that I always thought was funny, that yes, the ball is coming out of his hand at 100 plus because he's stepping halfway to the plate, and he had a unique motion. A lot of guys have their arm at 90 degrees when they throw, but he had that 3/4
that cock
slot,
weird.
Yeah, it was like a sling coming out of there. Where, especially since his arm was so long for a left-handed batter, the ball is starting 4 feet behind you and then having to swing back across the plate.
Yep.
Everything feels like it's coming at you at that point.
Yep.
Yeah,
his arm was as long as his mustaches at that point.
Yes. And his mullet.
Oh,
yes.
Man, that mullet was something else. I'll tell you what. It's like he's just too big for NASCAR. This is the one... He just wouldn't fit in one of them stock cars. That's the only difference.
Yeah, exactly. But this is the one problem I have with Randy Johnson, is that he went into, and I don't blame him for this, he went into the Hall of Fame as a Diamondback, as an Arizona Diamondback. And, he had good years in Arizona. He won a World Series with the Diamondbacks, so I totally get that.
Yeah.
It's just I always wished that he had gone in as a Mariner just because he was so dominant in those years. But, I could see it because he was 5-time All-Star with the Diamondbacks. Last time was when he was 40. So,
yeah,
it is what it is.
It is what it is.
But it's fine. He's the fourth guy on my Mount Rushmore.
That's pretty good, man. I can't argue with you. As far as not picking King Felix, what I can do is tell you that you've left out arguably the most important personality in the entire franchise off your Mount Rushmore.
Oh.
That's a bold statement. And
that is a bold statement.
I'm going to kind of break the mold a little bit. And as I do so, I'll ask you to break out the salami and the mustard, Grandma. Because I'm putting Dave Niehaus as my number 4 on Mount Rushmore for Seattle.
I cannot believe I didn't say Dave Niehaus.
You
because I was going strictly players.
I know, but you
Because
can't.
Dave Niehaus absolutely belongs to be on there more than the big unit does.
There's no
100%.
There's no Seattle baseball without Dave Niehaus. It just doesn't happen.
Well, I mean, it's carried on,
It's
but not without the statue in center field.
That's right.
How about that?
I'm just telling you, man.
Yeah.
So
No, that is an absolute valid point.
he started his career calling games for the California Angels, but if I got that right, California Angels, I believe that's actually true. But the point is, he was broadcasting in Seattle from 1977 to 2010. And that was the team's inaugural season, 1977, and he was with them all the way until 2010 when he passed away. I just think that as far as names go, you got to have, Dave Niehaus got to be on that Mount Rushmore.
Definitely. Absolutely. And I mean, if nothing else, I shouldn't say nobody. There are a few people who have as iconic of a call as Dave Niehaus.
Very few.
Because the Grand Salami made it into Ken Griffey Jr.'s Winning Run, the video game, basically like the sequel to Ken Griffey Jr. Presents Major League Baseball. Ken Griffey Jr.'s Winning Run came out a year, I believe, after, I think it was 96. So it was right after the 95 ALDS, once again. And anytime anybody hit a grand slam, it wouldn't go through the whole thing, but it would just say Grand Salami.
Nice.
Which was an obvious tribute to Dave Niehaus.
Absolutely. Well, and what I love about Dave Niehaus's calls is if you go back and watch, you get the radio guy enthusiasm with a TV guy presentation, right? Like he's broadcasting on TV, but he's also giving you like all of the juice, all of the excitement. He is invested. He's in it to win it. So it felt like your super duper knowledgeable uncle was screaming along with you on the third baseline. Right?
It's true, and like I have a cassette tape from that '95 season. I know I've talked about it a lot this whole episode, but that's like when I became a hardcore big league baseball fan.
Yep.
Was during that season. Yep. And all along they have the Dave Niehaus call, with the video. And it's always just like it goes like 3 octaves above and you can tell, like me being an audio guy, you can tell that everything is peaking because you can hear it cut down as soon as the ball is hit because it's almost like he sits way back here and makes the call,
Yeah.
Because he's screaming so loud, and it's when somebody hits the ball, it's when somebody makes a great play. When Griffey crashed into the wall and broke his wrist, it was like, red peaks for days, and then he was able to chop it down and be somber because he's like, oh no, Junior's hurt. And so it's not just that he had his signature call, but he was incredibly good at what he did. He did a great job of feeding off the energy of the game and conveying that through the broadcast.
I agree, man. Iconic.
Absolutely. For sure. Love it. But anybody who hasn't been to T-Mobile or Safeco Field, there, like I said before, there's a statue out in center field of Dave Niehaus where he's sitting at the broadcast desk, and you can sit down next to him and get your picture taken. It's cool. I think I'll see if I can dig out that. I have a couple pictures of myself with it. I'll dig those out and put them on YouTube. You can see them.
Nice. Well, and they've got do they still have the thing on the outfield wall that just says Dave with the mic and it says "My oh my"? Is that still out in like right center?
I believe
field,
so.
Or wherever it is.
Yeah, I believe they do. So there's out in the outfield they have Edgar's Cantina. Obviously Edgar Martinez, Edgar's Cantina. But they also have Dave Niehaus Way out there. Is like the street.
Yeah.
There's Dave Niehaus Way and there's Edgar Martinez Way. And so there used to be, I don't know if they still have it, but there used to be a Mariners podcast called At the Corner of Edgar and Dave, or maybe it was their newsletter or something like that. I don't remember.
Cool.
But yeah, they called it At the Corner of Edgar and Dave. Thought it was pretty sweet.
That's pretty sweet. So, yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Cool.
But let's go ahead and get out of here, Brig. But actually, before we do, baseball family, send us your Seattle Mariners Mount Rushmore. I know it's not a team that a lot of you have ever really paid a whole lot of attention to, probably, or cheered for. But let us know if we got it right or wrong, because, I mean, should the big unit be on there? Should Dave Niehaus be on there in place? Maybe you had Alex Rodriguez on there. I don't know. Despite everything, whatever. There's
some argument there.
Send us a message in the mailbag.
Yeah.